realistically, as a kid, I really wanted to be a philanthropist, which is basically, to my knowledge, someone just like who goes out and does good. I was always like super intrigued with like people who had money or power, fame, and they use that to like give back, just trying to like put other people on. So that's always been like a main focus on like whatever move that I'm making, try to help people, and then that's like kind of translates to the moves that I'm making right now in terms of like in the medical field. I want to be in like the medical field because of helping people, honestly. And then in terms of this podcast, like the reason I'm even starting this podcast is just to create a voice, create a platform to where we can talk about real issues that would be helping people. You know what I mean? Same thing with like when I was 16 or 15 years old, in 2015, I started my first brand, and ever since then I've blown it up for like 5 years straight. We've sold in like 2 or 3 countries internationally, so globally we're selling in multiple countries. I've had sponsors and for like the business moves that I made, and mentors too, and they've kind of helped push me to the right direction, I would say. So it all started as a kid. Outside of projects, I would say I'm a pretty chill guy.
Just Kenny,
yeah, I'm pretty fun loving. I'm pretty chill. I'm a student right now. I've always been relatively like eager to learn, but like not eager to like do homework. So it's like I always try to fill my time with like things that just interest me in general, and chill with people who I feel like I can learn from in general. I feel like that's the best way to like glow up and get a check. Yeah, so that's actually a good question. I get that one a lot. People always hit me up because of I feel like the small success of podcasts that we have now. So basically, to answer your question, what is a podcast? A podcast is just like the most modern platform in which you can put content out. I would say it's like better than TV or working for like under like a corporation, because there's a lot of regulations and then they're controlling what you say. In a podcast, it's like the rawest form, so you can put your own voice out there, you control the narrative, and you can talk about the things you want to talk about. You could talk about nothing at all if you want to. There's tons of podcasts that have no substance or anything. It's just so you can connect with people. Honestly, that's how I view it. It's a good way to connect with people. And then, what was the other part of your question?
What made you want to start a podcast?
I can't even lie, honestly. To start my podcast, I spent maybe about 6 months to a year watching podcasts, and I became obsessed with the content and how people were putting it out. I was watching, obviously, like the main ones like Joe Rogan. I was watching a really funny one like Tiger Belly with like Bobby Lee is his name, dude from Mad TV who like pooped his pants and like pooped in his boss's like office on the floor or something. Completely dumb podcast. I watch a lot of podcasts that are hosted by comedians because I feel like they're more lighthearted. I watch podcasts by athletes too that have to relate to sports, and then you can find like science podcasts. So it's like it's really like limitless. You know what I mean? Making a podcast, it's a way to not put yourself in a box. I would say. Yeah. So In the Bag podcast is organizes like conversational pieces, like barbershop talk, so to speak. Like these are real topics that people already are speaking of or should be speaking about because it's important, it's relevant. We speak about topics that we find relevant, and in doing so we've like got a whole new audience who we didn't even think were, just because we're keeping it super authentic and like staying from the ground up. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so some of our favorite conversations, I could say like off the bat, the highest in terms of like analytics and like views and like numbers, the highest like rated podcast that we've done, highest grossing number podcast is the episode on PTSD where we had Jelani and Tyler, and then Kayla, obviously the other co-host, and we just really had it might have been like a 45-minute conversation stressing mental health from a whole bunch of different perspectives. And then we saw like one person was from the south side of Chicago and saw a lot of violence and saw it differently than someone who might have grown up privileged in like a better community in Jacksonville. And it's like it was just kind of cool. And then that I felt like the audience resonated with that. Another moment was our like last episode 10, the last episode that we put out. It was on aliens, and that was like one of our benchmark episodes because I felt like it signified like us coming into our own. Like even with the intro, you saw like we were like laughing around.
Yeah. That episode was more episode, not so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I feel like all in all, it was just a lot more. I don't even remember it.
No, it was more of a. It was more creative in a sense. Like it was a topic not anyone discusses.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best thing about a podcast too. Is for the most part, it's like it'll go as far as you let it go. So it's really just a question of how creative do you want to go, how much work do you want to put in. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it's like the sky's the limit. And with my work ethic, I feel like the sky's the limit at all times. Yeah.
So where would you? Where can you find the podcast with different viewers?
Yeah. So let me actually. Kayla's gonna be mad that I don't remember like off by heart.
Yeah.
Let me double check that real fast. Off that, I know that we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play Store. We're on Breaker. We're on Anchor. Shout out to our sponsor, Anchor. And then we have some episodes on SoundCloud. The SoundCloud be playing. Did you
SoundCloud, you started it with it first?
Yeah, we started on SoundCloud, but they were like trying to charge too much money and we could just put it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, that's dead. Anyways, yeah, and a whole bunch of other places. I'll edit it in like here.
Alright, perfect.
Yeah, so right now, I'm currently in the process of trying to like get a book together and go on a press run to where I could just market like a short book, probably like 100 pages, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to be talking about this right now. But the working title is Keep Moving Forward. It's going to be a bunch of short entries, maybe like a page, maybe a couple pages, maybe like a paragraph. And it's just either anecdotal or inspirational, motivational. For anyone who really wants to learn, it's about how like the mind works, I would say. And the main focus is in a world that's like filled with a lot of like negativity. It's easy to get like lost and stuff, but you just gotta like keep moving forward. So that's like realizing that gave me the inspiration for working on this book. I'm hoping to release it sometime in 2020. That's a good question, honestly. Always Stay Hungry. Personally, it's a brand, like I said, that is very close to me. I started it back in 2015, and the reason I started it is because I just wanted to make extra money. I was really focused on being the best version of myself I could be at the time. That's a lot to be thinking about when you're like 15 or 16, you know what I mean? So I was just like in this trance of learning and researching and then applying what I learned and like learning some more and like trying to just put myself in the best position I could. And in doing so, I got the hookup from one of my friends at the time who was also manufacturing clothes. He had a whole printing press and a screen printer machine, and he had a hookup to someone else, an older guy who had a screen printing machine in his garage at the time. He was trapping out the garage making t-shirts. Back in my early work, I made a light blue shirt, and on the chest of it said, "Made in the Florida Trap House." That was legit.
No,
the Florida Trap House. Yeah, that's why I made that shirt, because it was super authentic. Always Stay Hungry it's a clothing brand, yes, but I'm trying to grow it to be so much bigger than that, honestly. I'm trying to grow it to be a whole creative collaboration and collective. That's the goal.
Because I remember, what was it, last summer, we were trying to do like charity work and stuff.
Yeah, charity work is a big part of Always Stay Hungry, because it's like when you're constantly like bettering yourself, it's always good to turn around and also like give out information. Like Young Thug just said on T.I.'s podcast Expeditiously, Young Thug was like, I expect Jay-Z to teach me how to be a billionaire because he has that information. Yeah. So if you have the knowledge and you have the information,
why not?
Your job is to teach. That's what I believe at least. Yeah, so for Always Stay Hungry, we have a couple things planned right now. I'm just trying to get the right people surrounding the effort. But we have a couple different spaces and venues where I want to do free workshops, do Always Stay Hungry workshops, and maybe learn how do you make a podcast, what's the best way to start a clothing brand, how do you just go over simple things that reinforce bringing back side hustles and extra money and boosting the economy in certain communities that have been neglected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then, just basically making it fun, giving people something to do. I could do a workshop on and make it like painting with a twist almost. You know what I mean? Make it a vibe. I could do another workshop like, okay, this is how you cut and sew garments. Now you have a skill. Now I just had knowledge in my head and I transferred it to you. Exactly. Now you have a skill that you can hone and actually possibly make money off of. So it's one of those things to where always send hungry workshops. They've been in the works for a while, but we've always stayed hungry. So they're coming soon. That's all I can say. Coming soon.
Okay.
Yeah.